Saz, I'm sorry I look like crap today. I just got out of the shower and I've been eager to make my first proper video on this channel, so let's get to it. One of the main arguments for the existence of supernatural powers, and one of the hardest to refute, is the argument from personal experience, because it varies from person to person. It's never told the exact same way, because nobody has the exact same experience. But every variation of this point has the same idea behind it. I experienced a paranormal revelation that solidified my belief in the supernatural. How can you hope to refute my own personal experience? And it's a very good question. How do you refute that argument given the challenge? After all, there seems to be no way to do it without calling someone either a liar or a lunatic. I'm here today to tell you why the argument from personal experience is, as a matter of fact, invalid. Now, before I get into this, you should understand a bit about how human perception actually works. Illusions are not uncommon to the brain. Our minds are essentially really good at seeing things that aren't actually there. One of the reasons for this is lateral inhibition. Lateral inhibition is what happens when dark and light receptors in the retina are basically competing against each other to activate. When a receptor becomes active, the ones around it are inhibited. That makes edges of things look much more highlighted and prominent than they are in reality. Things like spots and flashes of light will appear around corners because the inhibitory response will highlight the darkness. There are numerous causes of hallucinations, many of which have nothing to do with a person's mental stability. Sensory-deprived hallucinations, focal epilepsy, and delirium tremens are just a few examples of causes for the human mind to see things that aren't there. Now, with that in mind, let's focus on those who claim they have experienced a supernatural phenomenon. Consider Colton Burpo, a young boy with a near-death experience who came back to life recounting his tale of a visit to heaven. Now, he's obviously too young to understand neurology, or that the human mind is very adept at creating hallucinations. He's too young to understand the difference between his subjective experience and objective reality. Unsurprisingly enough, the book in which this is explained is narrated not by the boy, but by his Christian father. Of course, there are a few little tidbits that prove it's the boy's perception talking, not actual reality. Colton notices marks on Jesus' hands, which are supposed to represent the stigmata from his crucifixion. Well, except that according to Roman tradition and to physics, crucifixion involved driving the nails into the wrists, not the hands. I'm certainly not saying that Colton Burpo was actively lying when he told the experience, or that he is mentally ill. But as I said, the human brain is incredibly good at making us see things as we perceive them in our minds, not as what is in reality in front of us. This is something called confabulation. The dictionary definition of the word is to fill in gaps of one's memory with fabrications that one believes to be true. A mind-blowing example of this is Beth Rutherford, a woman who in 1992 was being treated by a church counselor. She was convinced by her therapist that she had to self-abort on 2 separate occasions and was raped as a child. They managed to prove medically later that she was a virgin until age 22, and that the memories that she experienced were not things that actually occurred in her life. There's a reason for this phenomenon. When we don't remember something fully, our brain tries to fill in those gaps so that the partial memories make more sense. Your memory can be very easily fooled by the right people, or by your brain itself. That's why Colton saw Jesus as having stigmatas on his hands, because he believed that that was how crucifixion works, so that was what his brain showed him. A good way to tell if something is tangible is, would it still exist if we took away human consciousness? In any case, this is why arguments from personal experience are flawed, and why, if you had one, you need to think of the context of the situation, and think of how the factors around you influenced what you saw, heard, or felt. Next time someone tells you a story of a personal religious experience, bear that in mind.